This year, the Academy Board of Governors has voted to award an honorary Oscar to the great Indian filmmaker Satyajit Ray. Mr. Ray has been making films for almost 4 decades. The Academy recognizes Mr. Ray's rare mastery of the art of motion pictures and of his profound humanism, which has had an indelible influence on filmmakers and audiences throughout the world. He has said that he aims to capture both what is unique in the Indian experience and that which is universal.
When I first thought of Katha Satyajit, I did not think of any stage production. Rather, I thought of it as a question. Can the world of Satyajit Ray, which breathes through silence, glances, pauses, and the minutest shifts of human emotion, be brought to a stage within the span of 15 to 20 minutes time? The question looked very simple, but the process looked otherwise. Our Ray film often unfolds like life itself. Nothing is hurried. A face remains silent and yet tells the whole story. An old woman walks through the village path. A child looks through the window. A face trembles before it speaks. It hesitates before it utters. And in cinema, these moments can survive because camera knows where to pause, where to take time, where to move forward, where to repeat. It can wait. It can return to the same expression again and again. It can cut through time and create meaning. The stage cannot do that. A stage performance is mercilessly alive. What happens, happens once. There is no second chance. There is no repetition. There is no close-up moment. There is no camera to guide the audience's eye where to look and how to comprehend. Yet, these very details are the lifeblood of Satyajit Ray's storytelling. This became my first challenge. The second challenge was time. Many of the stories I selected unfolds gradually with the passage of time. Ray had the freedom of almost 2 hours to integrate a whole story. We have only 15 to 20 minutes to preserve the emotional journey, preserve the emotional truth of the story in such a limited time was another big question for me. It was then I began looking towards something beyond dialogue. Here I found myself returning repeatedly to Rabindranath Tagore. The connection between Ray and Tagore was not purely emotional or cultural. It is philosophical. Both were concerned with the dignity of ordinary human beings. Both understood emotional loneliness, integrity, love, aspirations, sorrow, freedom, and the silent journey of a human heart. While working on these adaptations, I realized that many emotions, which would take several scenes to express through dialogue, could sometimes be conveyed through a single line of a Tagore song. His words became bridges between moments, between two souls. They helped express what could not be spoken on stage without consuming valuable time. Alongside Tagore songs, I also used selected musical passages inspired by or associated with Ray's own musical language. These were moments where music could accomplish in 30 seconds what pages of dialogue could not. It allowed the audience to enter an emotional state rather than simply receive information through dialogue. None of these choices came easily. For months, I searched through books, essays, interviews, recordings, scripts, articles, and archives. Every story demanded its own research. Every adaptation demanded a new solution. The objective was never to imitate Ray because that would be impossible. The objective was to understand the emotional core of his work and then discover a theatrical language through which that core could remain alive. But if adapting Ray was difficult, working with the performers proved even more challenging. From the beginning, I made a conscious decision not to work with the professional but to work with the amateurs. I wanted ordinary people to work with me in this journey. In principle, it sounded beautiful, but in practice, it is something other way around. In practice, it became the most difficult part of the entire project. Most of the participants entered the rehearsal without any preliminary knowledge about Satyajit Ray or his movies. Many had never watched a single movie by Ray. They hardly knew any cultural environment revolving around the environment of Satyajit Ray's cinematic language. They know little about the cultural environment from which these stories emerged. They hardly know any traditions connected with this voluminous work. I organized 6 workshops before the rehearsal began. We discussed Ray's films, his cinematic technique, the initial core truth of Ray's cinematic journey. We discussed his realism, his artistic approach towards a film, the meaning and metaphorical expression of silence, etc., etc. Some listened attentively. Many treated the workshops as a formality. That difference became visible very quickly. A Ray character cannot be performed through loud acting. One cannot simply memorize lines and appear on stage. The actor must understand the inner life of the character. The actor must know what remains unsaid. Unfortunately, many participants approach the production in the same manner they might approach any annual cultural program. The depth of preparation required often remained absent. Even today, that struggle continues. There are a few participants who genuinely try to understand. They read, they ask questions, they observe, they reflect, they make the process worthwhile. But they are few. The younger performers face another challenge altogether. Nearly half of them are non-Bengali children. Many have never heard of Satyajit Ray before joining this project. Their unfamiliarity is not their fault. They came from different backgrounds and experiences. What makes the process difficult is that the work often ends when rehearsal ends. At home, there is rarely encouragement to continue practicing. What is learned one week is sometimes forgotten by the next. As a result, the same lessons must often be repeated again and again. Creative dance presented similar difficulties. The creative movement sequences were never intended as decorative elements. They were designed to communicate emotions that words could not express. They were meant to function almost like visual music. But such work requires sensitivity, concentration, and discipline. Not all participants were prepared for that demand. The gap between intention and execution frequently became a source of concern. Between the design and the act falls the shadow. Between the conception and the creation falls the shadow. There were many days I questioned myself whether this project could be completed or not. When one chooses a subject like Satyajit Ray, one automatically inherits a profound sense of responsibility. The responsibility is not merely artistic, it is intellectual, it is cultural, it is of course aesthetic, it is of course moral. One cannot reduce the work to the superficial level of entertainment. At the same time, one cannot expect the amateur artists to act like professionals. I cannot expect the amateur group to suddenly imbibe high professionalism and the expertise one inherits from years of experiences. Every rehearsal, therefore, exercised as a matter of patience, as a concern of patience. Some days were disappointing, some days were exhausting, some days felt like moving a mountain inch by inch. Yet, amidst all this, there remained a few individuals whose sincerity kept the work alive. Their commitment reminded me why the project had begun. Their willingness to learn made it impossible to abandon the effort. Perhaps that is the real story behind Katha Satyajit. Not the performances themselves, not the costumes, music, lights, or sets. The real story is the attempt to carry a deeply human artistic legacy into a space where very few people initially understood its value. It is the story of trying to build a bridge between a great artist and a generation that often knows little about him. It is the story of struggle, patience, disappointment, discovery, and occasional moments of genuine understanding. Whether we succeed completely or not is for the audience to decide, but the journey itself has taught me something important. The humanity that Satyajit Ray discovered in his characters is not only confined to his films, it exists in every rehearsal room. Every misunderstanding, every effort to learn, every failure, and every small act of sincerity. Perhaps that is why his work continues to matter, and perhaps that is why this journey continues.